This is Valley News Live at noon.
These are trying to identify human remains found in a burned out car. The Walsh County Sheriff's Department says it found the body in a car last Friday just north of Minto. Deputies were able to identify who owns the vehicle, but were not releasing that information. UND is conducting the autopsy. Also breaking news at noon, authorities are conducting another autopsy on a man found dead in Kidder County. NewsDakota.com is reporting 56-year-old Timothy Becker of Robinson was found dead on Monday. His body was found on a back road by Highway 36. No other details are available at this time. We're finally getting some relief from that wind and snow, but it doesn't mean we'll get a break from the cold. Let's go to Summer Schnellbach with a quick look at the weather. Summer?
Thank you so much, JC. It's almost shocking to see the bright light up in the sky, and the skies are blue. There's not a lot of wind. It's been a long time coming, but it's cold. Temperature right now 5 degrees below zero in Fargo. It's 6 below in Grand Forks, 2 below zero in Jamestown and Fergus Falls, 3 below zero in Bemidji, 8 below in Devil's Lake at this hour. And what we had over the last 6 days, we're calling it a blizzard bonanza. We had 4 blizzard warnings in just a matter of 6 days. To put that into a little bit of perspective, the average amount of blizzard warnings we see on an average year is 2 or 3. So we have definitely went beyond that this season. We had multiple rounds of wind and snow between last Thursday and yesterday. Now the wind and snow is gone. We're putting that on the back burner, and now it's a cold cleanup through the rest of the week. And here's just some of the snow drifts. This one's sent in by Tiffany Qualley from Comstock, Minnesota. There's a lot to clean up. So JC, coming up in just a little bit, we'll talk about maybe the warmest day or the best time to clean up some of the snow because it's going to be cold.
Sounds like Mother Nature is overachieving this year.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Summer. Police are investigating reports of shots fired in South Moorhead. They were called around 9 last night to the 500 block of 30th Avenue. Officers detained several people for questioning, but no arrests were made. Police say no one was hurt, and they don't believe there is any threat to the public. 3 people are facing potential charges after a drug raid in west central Minnesota. The Candy-Ojai County Sheriff's Department says it found cocaine, meth, marijuana, THC cartridges, fentanyl, and a gun when it raided a home in Wilmer Monday. Authorities have not released the name of those arrested. A Minnesota jury is now deliberating in the case of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights the night he was killed by Derek Chauvin. Legal analysts say the concept of willfulness will be a key to the verdict, and that courts have struggled with how to apply the concept for more than 100 years. The legal definition is complex. Willfulness is not just intent to commit crimes, it's also intent plus prior knowledge that the action is against the law. During closing arguments yesterday, prosecutors said J. Alexander King, Thomas Lane, and Total chose to do nothing as Officer Derek Chauvin squeezed the life out of Floyd. But defense attorneys say the officers were inexperienced, weren't trained properly, and didn't willfully violate Floyd's rights. A second teen has been arrested in the homicide investigation that led police to the Minneapolis apartment where a SWAT team officer fatally shot Amir Locke while executing a search warrant. A 16-year-old boy is charged in Ramsey County Juvenile Court with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. Locke's 17-year-old cousin has also been charged in the killing of Otis Elder in St. Paul. Police entered the apartment where Locke was staying at without knocking while searching for suspects in Elder's death when the fatal encounter took place. The drumbeat of war is getting louder in Europe with Russia's force poised to launch an all-out offensive on Ukraine. Reporter Deborah Alfarone has more details from the White House, where President Biden is taking steps to punish Russia's economy.
Ukraine announced a state of emergency and is mobilizing its National Guard in response to the threat from Russia.
Plan A is to utilize every tool of diplomacy to deter Russia and prevent further escalation. And if that fails, Plan B is to fight for every inch of our land and every city and every village.
The U.S. says Russia continues to send forces into rebel-held areas of eastern Ukraine, and satellite images show the Russian buildup along Ukraine's borders growing, including field hospitals being set up.
Russia's moved supplies of blood and medical equipment into position on their border. You don't need blood unless you plan on starting a war.
President Biden announced the first set of sanctions against Russia, targeting 2 large Russian banks with ties to the military and cutting the country off from Western financing.
These have been closely coordinated with our allies and partners and will continue to escalate sanctions if Russia escalates.
President Biden warned that the sanctions against Russia will have an impact on Americans, especially at the gas pump.
As we do this, I'm going to take robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, not ours.
Fuel prices are already on the rise, reaching 7-year highs. Russia accounts for about 12% of the global supply of oil and 17% of natural gas supplies. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
With oil prices on the rise, that actually helps Russia and could negate the impact of some of the new sanctions. U.S. Capitol Police and D.C. officials are preparing for the possibility of truck driver protests ahead of President Biden's State of the Union address next week. The Pentagon is evaluating a request for the National Guard to provide support at traffic control points in and around the D.C. area. Officials are hoping to avoid potential challenges stemming from possible disruptions. No decisions have been made yet to approve the request. Maryland State Police say they're aware of the truckers threatening to clog up the roads and shut down the Beltway, but there are no specific details. Today, we're expecting to find out who will lead NDSU. The State Board of Higher Education is conducting final interviews with the top 3 candidates right now. The candidates are David Cook, Hisham El-Rawini, and Mary Holes-Claus. Cook currently serves as a vice chancellor at the University of Kansas. El-Rawini is a dean at the University of North Dakota and a provost at Marymount University. Holes-Claus is a chancellor at the University of Minnesota, Crookston. The new president is expected to be announced this afternoon. Coming up at noon, we'll tell you how much snow has been taken to the Fargo landfill so far this winter. Plus, we're expecting bitterly cold temperatures and frigid wind chills. Summer is next with your forecast.